More good news for Adrian Dix. Yet another pollster is putting the British Columbia NDP party in a comfortable lead ahead of Christy Clark's Liberals. I just said NDP party. I'm going to dock myself a nickel. Sorry, it's the New Democratic Party. Support for Clark has fallen since 2009, and now the party is trailing almost 12 points behind the BC NDP, who, at 39%, are close to majority government territory, according to ECOS. That's the pollster that took this poll. The reasons for the shift in support could include factors such as harmonized sales tax, the HST, the deficit, and service cuts. Back to Battleground BC now. Let's check in with Vancouver 24 Hours columnist Bill Tieleman. Bill, what do you make of this poll? I mean, the broader trend seems to be there. One of the interesting things from ECOS, our friends there, is they still see some life among the BC Conservative Party.
Yeah, that's true, David, and it is very an interesting one. And of course, out here in BC for the NDP, it is party because they're looking like they're going to have a lot of fun on election night the way things are going. But it is interesting, and the trends are all there. We had an Angus Reid poll a few weeks back that was a 15-point gap, 46-31. Then we had Mustel, it was 10 points. They hadn't been out in the field for a while, and this one is different again. So I think the trend lines are there pretty clearly, and we just saw, I mean, when you see the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers saying that Christy Clark's Hail Mary pass is a fumble, you've got to be worried on the government side. They just seem to be having another really bad week. They're in the legislature for the first time in almost 9 months, and the NDP is pummeling them in the House and outside the House, and some of their former friends aren't too happy with them either.
What's your take? I asked Bruce Ralston about this off the top of the show, but what's your take on the suggestion that, you know, Christy Clark may not have her entire caucus and or those independent MLAs behind her on the budget vote? Is that something for real, you think?
It's possible, and you know, the ECOS poll, the one factor they didn't mention, which may be the big factor, is Christy Clark herself. She has been on the job for 2 years, and I guess ECOS maybe didn't notice that she was in charge. But she does have a real problem. There are a couple of backbenchers who are really not happy, have not been happy for a long time, not going to run again. And, you know, there might be a temptation to cause some real grief. And I'll tell you, the last thing you want as a government in a situation like that, where you need every day, every possible day you can to campaign, all of a sudden you're in the campaign because some of your own side basically let you down. It would be a stunning development, that's for sure. You know,
and one of the other things that might sort of go to these numbers, the continuing low numbers for the BC Liberals, is you probably saw the piece in the weekend in the Victoria Times Colonist that noted that half of the ridings on Vancouver Island, 7 out of 14, don't have a Liberal candidate yet. I mean, we're months to the election, and some of these are ridings where there is a retiring Liberal incumbent. And I wonder if that goes to the idea that there's some Liberals on Vancouver Island, and certainly that's going to be a strong territory for the NDP, not wanting to go anywhere near Christy Clark in this particular election.
Yeah, I think they are going to have some problems in recruitment there, and definitely Vancouver Island is heavily NDP, so I don't think it's pretty much a sort of a kamikaze run politically for anybody who goes in there. But still, you sort of think if the government was going to win, it wouldn't matter. If you're a loyal Liberal and you think, well, I'll run in some riding where I can't win, but at least they'll look after me afterwards, or they'll think highly of me and it'll be good for my career if they're in government. Well, it doesn't look like they're going to be in government night, so that makes it a lot harder to find a candidate.
Let me get your take on the Greens, because in the ECOS poll, Greens are polling at 13.5%. And I know that a Green voter is not automatically going to think NDP second. Nonetheless, there is a lot of people think that the Greens may be more of a threat to a New Democrat in some ridings. Let me ask you that. Could they be a factor in some races pulling support away from a New Democrat?
Yes, they could be, David, and particularly in South Vancouver Island, the Greens have recruited their only star candidate is Professor Andrew Weaver, a climatologist. And of course, there was a very near miss, as you know, federally when Murray Rankin won the seat for the NDP and the Greens came a close second. So there is a bit of wind under their sails in the Victoria area. But outside of that, I have to say, I don't even know what the Greens said about the throne speech because I didn't see any news coverage of it whatsoever. They have basically been running silent for quite a while outside of Victoria itself. We'll see, but they do poll probably more NDP votes. The Conservatives probably poll a little bit more of the right-wing votes. But what we saw from the Liberals, but what we saw in some of the recent polling is people were splitting away from the Liberals to equally to the Conservatives and NDP in recent polls.
Let me get your last thoughts then on the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers. They're nervous about having to pay more to get at BC's natural gas. You know, I'm assuming New Democrats would like to have that fight. Go ahead, industry, complain. You're going to have to pay to get this stuff.
Well, it's sort of an academic argument in a way at this point, because there are no LNG plants, and the Premier, as you know from her throne speech a couple of days ago, said we're going to be able to pay off the debt and get rid of sales tax, and there'll be pie in the sky when you die, sort of stuff. So I'm not so sure. And then the next day, the industry's out there saying, well, wait a minute, we haven't even agreed to any of this stuff, and we don't like it. And if you tax us to death before you even start, we might not invest in those plants. So sort of a poor timing on the Premier's part. And, it looked like an awfully big Hail Mary pass.
The magical future, as I called it on my blog. I think that's what it was.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Pretty unbelievable.
Bill Tieleman in Vancouver tonight. Thanks so much, my friend.
Thanks, David.
Still.